921. Oh my gosh, sorry. 921 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Can you believe it? 921. I almost said 221. Can you believe? Well, it's 2023. He went missing July 23rd of the year 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. So, this is a very interesting day. I want to talk about Leilani Hart. Leilani Hart is a very important person in this case because I wouldn't know about her. I wouldn't know about her, and I wouldn't know about her son. I wouldn't know about Tavita Nusa if it wasn't for Team Find Richard Halliday. We have very, very clever, wonderful people that that are courageous, that come forward and let us know very important information about Richard's case. Now, this could all have been solved very quickly before we even found out that Richard went missing. This could have been solved. If you know this case, you know exactly what I'm saying because the Army never contacted us. The Army never contacted us, never sent us our 2-week letter, nothing to let us know that our son was missing. And then when we did find out, we got thrown out. Richard got thrown out. I am Richard Halliday. He was thrown out off the rolls and in nobody's jurisdiction. We couldn't even put in a missing persons complaint. So we were way behind the curve when we even found out that he was missing to search for him. And then the Army leadership perpetuated the problem. They made the problem worse by kicking Richard off the rolls, kicking us off the rolls, people that love him, people that know him, people that care about him. And so it made us even further behind the curve of trying to find him. And everyone knows how important it is when there's a missing person to be very fast, to be very quick. And so everyone knows, if they've been following this, how we were treated at the beginning and even threatened. We have been put through military operations against us, asymmetric warfare against us. And so we have counted on Team Find Richard Halliday to this friends, family, people that care, courageous people, and even an officer of the court to help us find out what happened to our son. And we wouldn't know anything about Leilani Hart if it wasn't for the officer of the court that called us in February of 2022. So 2022. So hasn't even been a year yet. We get this phone call that Richard's file has been leaked. And it wasn't just Richard's file, it was lots of files from a CID special agent in right there in the office at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. The very office that is in charge of Find Richard Halliday, or looking for Richard Halliday, or committing the crimes, the cover-up, the manipulations, the lies. They have lied to us and manipulated a lot. Manipulated. So here is this special agent, Tavita Nusa, with a very close connection with Leilani Hart. We have told by several people that they were having an affair, even though he's married. And I'm sorry to say that, but this people have to know, because of this article that came out, that there are accusations of her character. There are lots of accusations on her character and her credibility, because this article is attacking a judge named Roger Rodriguez. And this judge was part of, involved in the Walmart shooting, okay, that killed way over 20 people. I don't know why. I remember calling Richard and saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay? How far were you from the Walmart um, when that all happened?" This is way over 3 years ago. And I heard that the court, I think last week, wants to extend it another over 2 years, so that so the murderer of these victims will most likely, he has a chance to walk now, because his civil rights, his constitutional rights have been violated. This is crazy stuff, and this is the same judge that's involved in this article. Leilani Hart is saying that he shot at her or in her living room, maybe to scare her. I believe that I read, and please correct me, that she was afraid for her life, and this was attempted murder. Um, and so this is a very, very big deal, because what did she want with Richard's file? Is she being investigated? Is she part of the investigation? She should be. I hope she is. Um, in the Because Richard is suspected as being murdered. Okay, the FBI were looking not for Richard alive, but for Richard's remains. Okay, so they suspect him as being murdered and being dead. Okay, being dead. And we have the father-in-law of the lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, uh, who said he's with the FBI. Okay, so he's not a special agent. So the only other really possibility is that he's an FBI informant. Okay, and he said uh, not only does he have that connection to information, but he has his son-in-law that is a lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. And he said the FBI were looking for Richard in Juarez and found Richard's remains. They were looking for Richard's remains. I need to make that clear. They were looking for Richard's remains at these areas. The Department of State confirmed that they were looking for Richard's remains. And that this father-in-law goes a step further. He said they found him. They found him, and it's not good news. He's dead. Shh. And the way he did it, it's in the video. You can watch it. It's not all right away. He takes a long pause and walks over to the door to think about if he should tell her that Richard is dead, because it is a secret. But he does call her over and does tell her that. So so we have a leaked file to Leilani Hart, to a missing soldier, not only a missing soldier, but the very first DS1, the very first CONUS DS1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart. Okay, so he's more than just a missing soldier. Okay, he's setting precedent for this absent soldier flowchart. And not only that, but he's our son. He's a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle in basic training and advanced individual training. So I just not that matters, If you are a missing soldier, they need to look for you, especially when and right away, not wait. Yeah, see? The bell is tolling right at that very important. They need to look. And not just after the parents are making a big to-do. They need to do that, when the soldier goes missing, when you have to understand what was going on. Vanessa had just been found at the very beginning of July, okay? All cut up, burnt up in a foxhole with lime on it, with concrete on it, and dirt, okay? She had been bludgeoned to death with a hammer so bad in her head and face that they couldn't even use her dental records. That so she had just been found. Austin Hawk in June 17th of 2020, was murdered in his barracks room. Wednesday, I believe Wednesday or Thursday of this week, is going to be the court hearing for, they're going to set the penalty for the crime there in Georgia. I know Austin Hawk's mother is going there, and my prayers are with her. They are going to declare the sentence for the murder of her son, and she has to sit through that. Okay, and that was a plea deal, which was a kick right in the gut, a cold-blooded kick right in the gut, because that meant that they did not want this to be in the media. See, that's how selfish they are. That's how careless they are. They don't care. They don't care about justice. They don't care about their troops, their service members, because if they did, they would have never given a plea deal to this murderer that 39 wounds just to his head because he was a whistleblower. 39 wounds to his head. And this is all premeditated, months before premeditated. And he even slit his throat. It was so bad that when they went to go pick up his body the next day, because no one called 911. No one called that. No one called the military police. Not one of those soldiers in that barracks went to help him. Not one of them, y'all. And it was a brutal battle. Austin Hawk was a warrior. He fought like hell to save his life. I mean, you're talking about closet doors coming off. You're talking about even injuring the perpetrator and drawing blood. But no, he was left to fight on his own. There was no, I've got your six. There was no battle buddy to help save his life with this. Look, the CQ was in on it and opened the doors for this civilian at the time. He was Austin Hawk's sergeant. And, well, let's just say Austin Hawk was a whistleblower. And the next thing we knew, that sergeant was out. And he didn't take kindly to that. So this is the time that Richard went missing. When Enrique's head, right? That's in May, when Enrique's head came washing ashore after being hatcheted off of his neck, after his hair had been pulled out and his eyes gouged out, and he's been put into cold case. Can you believe it? That, they just don't care about our service members. And that's why with Austin Hawk, they had the chance of a lifetime. But they plea dealed instead of saying, no, we want to make sure that everyone knows that no one touches our soldiers, especially murders them in cold blood, planning it for months with someone in the military, right? And in the barracks, in our barracks, right? Yeah, but they didn't do that. They're cowards. They're demons. These are demons wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on it. And people say they're untouchable. People say we shouldn't investigate them. We shouldn't audit them. We shouldn't even suggest it because they're above. They get special privilege for being demons because they've hijacked our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on it, right? I don't think that way. I don't think that way. I think they are serving foreign and domestic enemies with a foreign ideology instead of defending our Constitution and minding their obligation to care for our service members. They're not doing that. They're setting up the military as a porn studio. They're setting up the military as a murder zone. They're setting a vicious murder zone. They're setting up the barracks as a marketplace for illegal drugs. They're setting up the barracks. And then they want to think about it. 20-year suicide failure rate for that program, 20-year rape failure rate for that program. It's crazy. And so, of course, I have to speak up when I see someone like Leilani Hart that needs to be investigated because her character is in huge question in my son's case. Huge question. And so why is this reporter, right? What's his name? Montez? I complained and I'll read it to you. They need to check what they're doing and who is giving them these outrageous, outlandish accusations to a judge, no less. I think that makes it even worse, right? I mean, 4-star generals are untouchable. What about judges? What about judges, right? Yeah, I can't even believe this. Because what I did yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, I just dissected that whole article. I dissected it because my son is missing. And Rob and I wanted to know, is there any truth to this? And who is this woman? We know who this woman is. We ever since for almost a year now, we have been looking at this woman. So I just want to read what I wrote. This is a complaint to KTEP for the irresponsible and manipulative reporting by Aaron Montes. Dear KTEP, I am the mother of Distinguished Undergraduate of Basic Training and Advanced Individual Training, Richard Halliday. He is the first CONUS S1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart. He went missing from his barracks room from Fort Bliss on the 23rd of July, 2020, in El Paso, Texas, bordering Juarez, Mexico. I am filing a complaint with your organization regarding the irresponsible reporting by Aaron Montes. Mr. Montes ran a story on January 26, 2023, which involved a source named Leilani Hart. The story is irresponsible in that it clearly ignores basic important facts such as the picture of the hole in the wall. It could have been a hammer. It could have been anything, a number of things. Was forensics performed before printing such a reckless accusation? Additionally, no police were called to verify such outlandish allegations. Additionally, the report is filled with inaccurate statements that clearly do not substantiate the very weak allegations. More importantly, Mr. Montes fails to identify that Miss Hart is currently involved in a disputed divorce. She has filed very, very serious claims with the FBI. What did the FBI have to say about these claims? Were they determined to be false? Does Leilani Hart have any credibility? We need to know, right? Mr. Montes fails to identify Leilani Hart as the mother of Dallas Hart, who was a first lieutenant at Fort Bliss, and both were under the same commander because she was also active duty. See? Major General Clem Coward, as was my son Richard Halliday. All three of them were under the same command. Very interesting. Mr. Montes fails to mention Miss Hart's relationship was Special Agent CID Tavita Nusa, who, we are told, leaked Richard's file to Leilani Hart, the first lieutenant's mother. Richard had gone over and outside the chain of command to make complaints to Child Protective Services, and the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. Is Leilani Hart being investigated for her part in the disappearance of my son, Richard Halliday? Mr. Montes fails to mention that the investigation of the missing soldier, Richard Halliday, includes Leilani Hart. This would call into question Miss Hart's credibility. So many important questions need to be asked and answered. Your story did nothing but interfere with the investigation into my son's disappearance, giving Leilani Hart undeserved credibility. Sincerely, Patricia Halliday. So that's what's been going on behind the scenes. But those questions with the answers have not been given to us in any official way. And Mr. Montes, it seems like that sloppy work couldn't be from him. No, couldn't be. Couldn't be from a reporter, because a reporter would investigate more, right? I don't know. Is this a new age of reporting where everything is so sloppy? Everything is so, you're talking about destroying lives. This would destroy someone's life. And who would do such a thing? We need to know if all of this is credible. Because when you go to that extreme and you're not credible and the media helps to do it, to destroy a life, does that make them an accomplice? Does that make them an accomplice? How many accomplices have there been within the 44 four-star generals and admirals when it comes to General McConville staging the fake and fraudulent unofficial task force Find Richard Halliday on the American taxpayers' dime with 15 plus agencies in attendance? Right? And yet the military not in uniform, with no no operational order, nothing, no leader to even design how they would conduct this task force. How many accomplices are there even in the unit? And I want to talk about that just a little bit too. Because you see, the porn cult is so bad, y'all. It grabs you the minute you're in the military. It will grab you. They are through Wi-Fi broadcasting porn. And then they take it a step further. They've turned our military into a porn studio. People are actually making money in our uniforms, in our on our installations, in our buildings on the installations. They are using our equipment, our weapons as backgrounds for porn studios, making money off of that. They are grooming our young sons and daughters that sign up to be part of something really great defending the Constitution of the United States of America, and yet find them in a degenerate porn cult with drug-laced and very dangerous. And that's why this whole time that we've been searching for our son, we've seen crying soldiers, shaking soldiers, numerous shaking soldiers, and very quiet soldiers, because they know they'll get retaliated against. The Article 15s, the GOMARs, the chaptering, have all been weaponized against our own sons and daughters that volunteer, our own service members. So this is really, really important information because we have in Congress now a representative that has set up a committee, an investigation into the weaponization of our agencies against us, the weaponization of our government against the very people that fund them, that they're supposed to serve, that they're supposed to defend. And we see this over and over again, that our representatives, our agencies are up to, well, the agencies are up to no good. And they're mingling their power with the private industry, like Facebook, like Twitter, and on and on. And so when the military, 44 four-star generals and admirals that are really demons, that have hijacked our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars, that are serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of defending the Constitution, team up with and do the will of these FBI agencies or Department of Justice agencies that have collaborated with CEOs and companies and other, whatever, whoever, then we're talking about the whole weaponization of our military against us. And we know that the Pentagon has used psychological weapons. They've really focused on that. And we see that during 2020 and 2021 and 2022. We see that. The psychological weapons, the fear, the coercion, the tyranny. So the totalitarianism, because the DOD funded, the Department of Defense funded, created the op-ords for the crimes against humanity that were conducted. And also did not have time then, had to stage the task force Find Richard Halliday, and did not even care that the Army did not even contact us. It took us a lot of effort through social media, through calls, through conducting rallies, that we could get even one little admittance from Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe that it was definitely the failure of the Army. So, now we know what our service members have been through. I'm telling you, the Command Sergeant Major Jones, I'd like to know more about him and his input in all of this. And then Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz said at one of our rallies, he didn't even know that he had a missing soldier on his rolls. Can you believe it? Can you believe that? I'm telling you, he made a lot of people mad that day because Richard had made Child Protective Service complaints, which we didn't know at the time. But Richard had made Child Protective Service complaints over and above and outside of the chain of command, causing a lot of trouble with the IG being all over the barracks because of Halliday. And you're saying, and then being retaliated against by Major General Clem Coward, who also was the commander for Leilani Hart and First Lieutenant Hart. I just want to know, is there something that needs to be explained to us? I think there's something that needs to be explained to us. because Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz and Jones, so it was Command Sergeant Major Jones and then Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz that took Jones's place with Major General Clem Coward. And there's some things that need to be explained to us, because why are unjust retaliations going on from such a high rank? And unjust. So, and what is Leilani Hart's purpose? We know a lot. We know a lot, but we would like it official. Because don't forget, she is in this long disputed divorce. Okay? And lots of rumors. Lots of rumors, y'all. It gets pretty nasty. So why would she make these outrageous, outlandish accusations to Judge Roger Rodriguez at this point? Why would she do that when she's not credible? And why would Montez print such oh my gosh, why would he be like an accomplice? I mean, that's my opinion. He's acting like an accomplice in the destruction, the outlandish destruction of a judge by someone that is just, I mean, her credibility is in total question. And that's not mentioned at all. At all. And I'm sure that if he did a little bit of digging, this reporter, he would find even more. He would find even more. There's a lot out there. There's a lot. And yeah, so please call me 941-677-0060 if you know, if you have things to share, because definitely we'd like to know. This is very, very important in the crime that was committed against our son, Richard Halliday. So this Leilani Hart needs to be investigated, and we need to get official answers on that. So who's going to do that? Right? Only, and this is from Lieutenant General, 3-star General Sean Bernabe, that says, the failures are what drive us to do the right thing, to make the changes. It's the failures that drive us to make the changes. Okay? So I want to correct that. It is the exposure by the multitude of Americans that are paying all the dimes for this $1 trillion military, that are fed up with it serving foreign and domestic enemies rather than defending the Constitution, which that is the deal that we made with them. That is the deal. We would pay them if they would defend the Constitution of the United States. So I think they owe us a lot of money, and we need it because we're in debt. We're in debt. And primarily because of them serving foreign and domestic enemies, hijacking our entire defense. Our entire defense. So it's not just the Department of Justice or the FBI, it is the Department of Defense, and they owe us a lot of money. They have failed 5 audits in a row, trillions of dollars. I've heard Catherine Austin Fitts say $21 trillion of missing money from the Department of Defense and HUD. Can you imagine? That would pay off our debt, and let's get some restitution on that, right? Let's get some restitution. Let's find that hidden money, and then let's get some restitution, and all of our debt would be paid off. And I think at that point, we would know exactly, because it would free our service members. They are under retaliation, a threat of retaliation, and also this porn cult, y'all. It just grooms them, and it can be very, very bad for the soul. And they have seen things, done things, participated in things, and that's how you get your service members to lockstep. My Oma told me all about it. The Nazi regime, the Dritte Reich. As a German, as an American German, okay, my grandfather was interned here in the United States for 3 years during World War II. And you ask the question to your German grandmother, at least I did, why did the Germans go along with it? Why would they go along? Why didn't they stand up for what is right? And I'm going to tell you, it's porn. It's the porn cult. It is still a problem in Germany. It came in with Hitler, and it is a huge problem, y'all. So that porn cult, that doggy rearing puppies, let me show my erection in uniform in the gymnasium on our installations. And no, look, it's not your dog, whatever your name is, rearing puppies. It's not your installation. It's not your uniform. It's not your puppies. Do you know that our soldiers are called government issue? They have dog tags because it's a responsibility of our leadership, our 44 four-star generals, to care for every one of our service members, to rear them. And I know what you mean by that. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting how none of those 44 four-star generals and admirals are speaking up to the media about this disgusting behavior that has been publicized. A colonel with a captain with many others in uniform wearing their doggy mask, admitting to how they coerce, how they groom, how they rear puppies, young soldiers. At least that's what I got from what he wrote. And then wearing our uniform and being in our gymnasiums, on our installations, and showing his body part. I don't know why the media, maybe Montez needs to take a look at that. Because that, take it from me, I'm from a German heritage. All my grandparents were German. And when you ask, how did they go along with that? Because they were captured by threats of retaliation and porn. The porn cults that are now admitted to be broadcast through Wi-Fi on even our ships. And it goes further than that. This is a national security threat. And they don't care about that either. So you can have the very first CONUS DES 1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart with all this information, this huge case laid out before them. Any law enforcement agency could take this case and figure out very quickly by getting our FOIAs answered for the Child Protective Service complaint or complaints, and then also why the IG were all over the barracks because of Richard and many other FOIAs. Answer those FOIAs. Come straight. find this soldier, it would take just a matter of days. I'm telling you, that's how much information that we have. The problem why it would take days and not hours is because they would have to go through all the screenshots, all the audio, all the video, all the even addresses. Because remember that we were being harassed. We were being harassed through burner phones. Our hotline that we put out there, 941-677-0060, was being harassed, used to send us vile and vulgar messages for months. And we decided to try to trace those burner phones to learn how to do it. Guess what? We did it. We did it, and we got the addresses, and we sent it to the authorities, and it's been crickets. Crickets. And they were all very good. One of them was amazing. A very, very, very important government building. Very important. And what do we get? Crickets. Because people don't want the truth. They want all this manipulation. They want, they serve manna instead of God. And it's going to get us in big trouble. And then they are held in lockstep by porn and by fear of retaliation if it's not the manna. So no wonder we have used trillions and trillions of dollars of bribe money, of money laundering. It's been crazy the last few years, absolutely insane. And I'm standing there and sitting there in front of a general officer, and I just want to cry. Because the Army has not brought out the best in him, not brought out the best in her, has turned them into absolute orcs, demons, wearing our beautiful uniforms with stars on them. And we've given them everything. We've given them big, beautiful buildings with large staffs, the smartest of the smartest, right? And we've given them airplanes, we've given them helicopters, we've given them a driver and a beautiful vehicles, good retirement plan, job security. We surround them with lawyers. We've given them everything, even our prayers, even our volunteer sons and daughters, our support. Thank you for your service. Boxes and boxes and boxes of care packages. I even was a clown during Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm for the troops going and coming home at the different parties and get-togethers so I could entertain the kids while the parents could have a good time. I mean, we've given them everything. These 44 four-star criminals. And absolutely, that general that was sitting in front of me could have told me where my son was, but instead, we take underage drinking seriously. My goodness. My goodness. While rapes are being committed, drug deals are being made in the barracks flush with weapons, soldiers' throats are being slit in their barracks room, faces being pounded in with a hammer in the armory. Soldier rotting to death to the 5th stage of decomposition in his barracks room. I'm talking about Caleb Smither. And that's what the general has to say to me. And they're sending tanks that they don't even have. Maybe it's the blow-up tanks. Remember I posted the blow-up tank? Maybe I didn't on Find Richard Halliday. I posted the blow-up tanks. The bouncy tanks. We don't even have the tanks. And we're in $21 trillion of debt, almost $22 trillion. And that's what he has to say to me. They're setting us up for annihilation. They're setting us up for failure. They can't even find a missing soldier from his barracks. With everything laid out in front of them, every lead brought to them, they kept saying, you need to bring us leads. You need to bring us leads. I got you the leads. You need to investigate Leilani Hart. Follow that. Follow that trail, that lead. And I think you're going to discover what happened to Richard. So I'm going to take some questions now. Or at least discover if she's credible or not. To save other people from being hurt. It was just so irresponsible of that reporter. Just so irresponsible. So manipulative. Okay. 3 comments. Danielle, thank you. Thank you for your prayers. They just need to find Richard and quit playing games and bring him home, in my opinion. Absolutely. But you know, it's growing bigger than that. It's growing bigger than that. Because major crimes have been committed. Not just to Richard, which I'm absolutely sure that has happened now. Absolutely, I would bet everything that major crimes were committed against Richard. But crimes against Find Richard Halliday have been committed. Crimes against us looking for Richard have been committed. They could find Richard, in my opinion. They found bin Laden. Come on. Gross negligence, in my opinion. Absolutely, Danielle. You unraveled so much factual evidence, in my opinion. Thank you. And it wasn't me. It was the whole team, Find Richard Halliday. Good people that have different talents in different areas. Everyone is different. And they brought in, just like with the searches in Juarez, just like the canine that is said to have looked for Richard, and someone goes, wait a minute, they don't have human remains sniffing dogs in El Paso at Fort Bliss. So what dogs did they use? Can you ask what training this dog had and where they got this dog? And I asked, and they wouldn't answer. They wouldn't answer. They still haven't answered. And so we talked to Bortak and Borstar, and Bortak doesn't even have dogs. And yet, the CID director, Ford, wrote a letter saying they got the dog from Bortak. But Bortak doesn't even have dogs. And so we'd like to know. And then there's no human remains sniffing dogs that we know of. And so what did they do? Use a drug sniffing dog? And that's why they don't want to tell us the name of this canine and the handler of this canine, because then we would know the training of this dog. And then it had to go pee-pee and poo-poo, and so they had to quit. Is that why they had to do that? Was it a training video that they showed us? You know, that, I mean, there's been so much. And we wouldn't know this unless uh, very brave people like you, Danielle. I mean, Danielle, woo, you're very knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable than I am. And, I wish we had the kind of staff that a 4-star general had, right? Has. A 4-star general has a huge staff. I wish we had their staff because we would absolutely know how to do all this legal stuff because all those lawyers are all, right? That's uh, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe told me he doesn't do anything without his lawyer right beside him, whispering in his ear. And he was right. He was always whispering, telling him. And I remember saying to this SJA, I said, he's trying to explain something absolutely insane to me. It was insanity. And I looked at him and I said, you can manipulate the law as much as you want to make someone look innocent, look guilty, have a certain ring to it or whatever. Whatever. It's still insane. It's still insane. And that's what they're there for. That's what these lawyers are there for, these SJAs, to twist and turn, to perform their little legal magics instead of get justice, instead of do what's right. Because what they were saying was just insanity. And we were at their mercy. You understand? You go to these meetings and you're at their mercy because your son is missing. And they're the ones that are your recourse. They're the ones that are supposed to find. They're the ones that have the military there at Fort Bliss at the tip of their fingers. And they can get, click the hills together to find out what happened to Richard. And so you're at their mercy. They have power. Those 44 4-star demons wearing our beautiful uniforms with the 4 stars, they have the entire military at their fingertips. They have so much power. They have way more power than Washington, D.C. Remember, the Pentagon is in Virginia. It's in Virginia. So that Pentagon is very, very powerful. And Trump just said those generals, whoo, they're fools. They're fools. That's what he said. And that, let me translate that. They are serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of defending the Constitution. That's my definition of Trump saying they're fools. I was on your YouTube and it all shows up good. Just you're not seeing my comments there. Oh, I have. I'm learning all this, and there's so many platforms, and so I'm trying to figure it all out. Border Patrol doesn't use cadaver dogs either, according to a border sergeant I asked. Exactly, they don't. They'll get live human sniffing dogs, or they get money sniffing dogs, or drug sniffing dogs, but they don't have cadaver dogs. So I've looked, and it really, can you imagine that the criminality of these generals? They're just total criminals. Um, yeah, we would have been able to possibly find Richard Halliday already, in my opinion, if there was a true operational order to find Richard Halliday, in my opinion. Absolutely. But there's not. There's not. Can you believe it? Did you contact Chaos Divers? Chaos Divers. I have to look. I have to look at our list because we and thanks to Kat, she has been way out there. And our numbers, I mean, we're getting so much information right now, and we're very glad that we were contacted about this article that had Leilani Hart in it, because we might have saved this judge. I hope that we have saved this judge, because that article was so bad, so irresponsible, so manipulative, because they did not check to see if Leilani Hart is credible. And from what I know, from all of the testimonies that I have gotten about her character, because I want to talk about that for a minute too. I've asked around for the character of people that may be involved in my son's case. Leilani Hart is absolutely involved in my son's case. And I have asked around for her a character witness. And every one of them has been bad. Very bad. And this is from people very close to her. Very, very close to her. And they don't have anything good to say. Okay, maybe she's a good hula dancer. But they don't have anything good to say. And I have asked around for the character, a witness of many people involved in this case who have popped up. And it's been a lot of not too good. No. And look I should have done that with Danae. And I believed her. And people were trying to convince me, no, she's a con artist. I'm like, no, that couldn't be. Even the CID said, oh, no, don't believe her. But they never told us why. They never showed us why. So finally, Team Find Richard Halliday directed us to several different incidences and her record. And then we further investigated, and she has a very bad character. Okay, very bad. Oh my gosh. With humans and with animals. And that's just on record. So she ended up being on the El Paso 10 Most Wanted Fugitive list. And so we have looked at character, and I really haven't even focused so much, and I've tried to side with a positive on everybody, if I could. That's been hard to do with Leilani Hart. So when I saw this report, when I saw this article, I thought I needed to dissect it. Once I dissected it and looked at it careful, this was very irresponsible reporting, very damaging reporting, and also it seemed like an accessory to a crime. An accessory to a crime to destroy a judge's life. And so that is, if that's the case, then that shows you that Leilani Hart, people have been exactly right, what we've been told, that she's not credible and she needs to be investigated. She needs to be investigated anyway in our son's case, because it is said that she received leaked files from the CID special agent Tavita Nusa, and Richard's being one of them. And video is missing, and video has been tampered with. Are those the sex videos? Are those the porn videos? Well, Child Protective Services could tell us, because we were told that Richard turned those into the Child Protective Services. And then IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. So we really need answers on all of this. And the 44 four-star generals can make it happen. They can make it happen in a minute. The generals and admirals, they can make it happen. They're a clique. 44 of them. There was only 7 in World War II. So, and 7 made a lot of things happen. So I think 44 could make this happen. So we need to know, where's Richard, and is the FBI hiding the remains of our son that they found in Juarez, Mexico, and keeping it a secret? That's what we need to find out. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. Let me see if I have any more comments. I'm starting to get the hang of this. I'm going to have to spread my wings a little more. Oh, yes. I'm blasting info clear to Timbuktu. No joke. Thank you. Kat, I see it. I can't keep up with you. I see it everywhere, and you're just amazing. You are, wow, you're doing us such a huge blessing. A huge blessing. Meaning bringing awareness. Yes, absolutely. So it is the awareness, and so I'm back on TikTok. I'm on Odyssey, Rumble, YouTube now. We finally got that hooked in and understood how to do that. What else am I on? Facebook. I'm allowed. Well, I might have to expand. Right now, I'm on 5 plus the Odyssey. So thank you, everyone. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow. If you hear anything, if you see anything, don't be afraid to call 941 677 0060. Last night, I will tell you a little story before I leave. Last night, in my dreams, Richard came to me, and he was about, I would say, 14. And he came to me in my dreams. Came to the door. I was in the kitchen making lunch, and I had the girls there. And he came up, and he was outside the screen door, and he looked at me and he said, "Mom, you were supposed to pick me up." And he was really distraught. He was really distraught. "Mom, you were supposed to pick me up." And I have Rob and I, we've never ever left our children to try to find their way. Uh, so it was pretty upsetting. I woke up that way because I went over to the door. I opened the door and I just gave him a big hug. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Richard." And I woke up and I was just a mess this morning. And our daughter Allison called and started talking, asking me about tablecloths and things like this for this baby shower that's going to be this weekend. And I was just so grateful for that. I was so grateful because, boy, I would have been in a real, real bad place if Allison didn't call and cheer me up. So pray for Richard. Pray for our service members. Pray for our families. Uh, and just praise God for Team Find Richard Halliday. And pray for that judge that this doesn't damage him. Okay? All right. And pray for Leilani Hart. Pray for her family. It's in a bad situation, y'all. Pray for her family. I know I've heard so many bad things, and she probably is not credible at all. And in the, how a reporter can make someone with that much baggage credible. Um, she's not credible. You shouldn't ruin a person's life or attempt to ruin a person's life with that. And but at the same time, we don't know everything. And so that's why we need to pray. God knows everything. So we need to pray. And I pray for this big mess, that God's justice be done. Absolutely. Because that way will be the right way. All right, y'all. God bless you. And I'll see you tomorrow.